1, 2, 5. I realized he wasn't stopping. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Lightning strikes of steel, flashes of blood. With the urgency of a marathon, he tried to finish my race. Like a patient, I went limp underneath of his knife. I immediately went paralyzed from the head down. The only thing I had control over at this point was of my tongue. And with my words, I was able to write my script. Lights, cameras, actions. I was chauffeured from Prince George's Hospital to a helicopter and then University of Maryland Shock Trauma Center. So ironic because I was expecting to be in the limelight for Baltimore Fashion Week. "12 designers were working with me. Now these 12 healers were working on me. Next thing I knew, I had 12 man-made tattoos. At PG, I couldn't believe it. I was starring in my very own episode of House. White gloves turned to white Merlot on my skin, white coats, frantic sounds, and scaries. Taking everything in, I blinked in 5-second increments. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't feel. The only thing I felt was pain. On August 14th, 2015, the 22-year-old Shaharia had died close afternoon. About an hour later, I was being stabilized and placed in a helicopter. I peered open my eyes for the second time, this time at University of Maryland Shock Trauma Center. I was a baby being born, instantly cringing under the bright lights. The only difference between me and the baby at this point was that I couldn't squirm. Wide awake, as sleep paralysis seemed to be the only thing that could describe how I had every intention to move, but I couldn't. The doctors come in and state calmly, "Ms. Johnson, you have a spinal cord injury called Brown-Séquard syndrome. You are paralyzed from the neck down. You may or may not regain mobility. Your lungs have collapsed because of the fluid. Also, when you are stable enough, you need a blood transfusion because you lost too much blood." The air was still and silent. My first thoughts, while I was sitting here with a life sentence, he only got a tap on the wrist. He pleaded for 16 years. My first question was, will I ever be able to walk again? The doctors didn't know. I was trapped and afraid. I was now hooked up on life support, drugs shooting in, and the slow, agonizing beeps of my life monitor for the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks in, I knew that this lifetime would be so much harder, but that my purpose was written in stone. My family would bring church to me every day for 14 days. It began with my queen reversing all negative energy and transforming it into positive at the door. My aunts would come in and inspect me and anoint me like it was Easter Sunday as a kid again. They blessed my forehead with kisses of prayers that turned into humming. When one person hums, we all do. That's another form of prayer, by the way. "No weapon formed against me shall prosper. It won't work." My family brought church to me every day for 14 days. Even when I didn't know, I knew. I had conviction in my family when they told me no weapon shall prosper. Opening my eyes, this time at National Rehabilitation Hospital, which would be my home for many months after. A new wave of enlightenment has now enveloped this baby. One leg of myself in my wheelchair was my new mode of transportation. Here I am, a 24-year-old Bambi wrapped in bandage, and was learning how to walk with no foundation to work from. I woke and ended every day crying. I was a hostage to my body for 730 days. About 17,000 hours later, physical and occupational therapy went 6 days a week for me. Day 2, we practiced standing. Here I am, standing alone, using the armrest of my wheelchair, practicing shifting my weight to my right leg so that I can try to learn how to step again. Even though it was hard due to there's no feeling under my right foot. It's hard trying to stand on something that doesn't feel like it exists. It's still numb. Day 10. Things are moving along slowly but surely. I'm slowly regaining motion in my right side. I can stand pretty strongly, and I've started making a few steps. I can transition easily from bed to wheelchair now, and I can almost make a fist. I can also almost straighten out my fingers all the way. I can kick out and bring my knee to my chest and back, even though I can't bring my heel to my bottom just yet. Those were the daily tests. Luckily, hamstrings weren't needed for walking. Walking was a very big goal for me. Day 30. Today was my first day walking with the harness. I felt like Tomb Raider. It descended down from the ceiling. It was like a backpack, and it took the gravity off of me so that I could stand upright without assistance. This was the only way that I could stand upright at this point. Day 60. In physical therapy, I used something called the Exo Robot. I was a transformer now. Metal and hinges and a sturdy backpack. It all lined my body. I even had metal underneath of my foot. I walked 400 feet today, the farthest I've walked. This thing took every ounce of energy, every muscle, and so much willpower to move it. They increase the resistance every week. Day 90. Even my doctors are amazed at how quickly I'm recovering. We always use the same tools we did as compared to a couple days ago, and I always made progress. This is one quick sidebar that I'm just remembering. My mom, every day she would come in to NRH, she would promise me something. She would say stuff like, by September 6th, you will be able to write. By November 5th, you will be able to pick up your cell phone. They all came true. They all came true. My mom would tell me these things. I was like, Mom, how you know that? Like, why don't tell me these things? And she said, one day she came in and I couldn't even pick up my phone. She was like, go ahead and try it. I tried it. And it took me, how long did it take me, Mom? About 4 or 5 minutes, but she didn't let me stop. And I did it. The day was finally here. As I'm rounding a full lap around the therapy gym, here they was, my cheerleaders from the very beginning, saying, go, Shawi, go, Shawi. My aunts, my mom, my physical therapist, my occupational therapist were cheering me on at the finish line. It's been a long time coming. But I've completed another long step in my journey, from the emergency room to being dependent on nurses and doctors in my family to eat, to breathe, to sleep, to use the bathroom, to put on my clothes. I was able to sit up on my own. I was able to stand on my own, no matter what assistance I needed at this point. Now my last goal was to be able to walk in my 5-inch heels again. So I could really show the world I was ready for my lights, cameras, and action. I passed that test and made my entrance into the world. I'm home now. And when I opened my eyes this time, they were glossed with tears and pain. The rose-colored lenses were gone. That spark of innocence in Shahari's eyes had turned into a radiating firefly. Warm water streaming down from the shower that felt like pins and needles on my skin, finally washing away the dry blood that my neck brace had contained up until now. I was finally able to take a shower without my neck brace. Soon after my immediate physical needs were met, reality set in. The jaws of PTSD clench so tight when they get a good grip. Every day my mind is on the battleground. I must be prepared to fight to the death every day. I don't see an end in sight. I feel empty, yet so full of emotion. Some days I feel everything at once, other days I feel nothing at all. The smallest things could push me over the edge. My demons, although I carry them quietly, are never silenced. They sit back, waiting patiently on an invitation to wait. Depression doesn't only set in at 3 p.m. At 3 a.m., depression also sets in at 3 p.m. when you're in the middle of a laugh or a conversation with friends. Anxiety attacks, intense feelings of fear and gloom, a sudden urgency to escape, run or get out, a fear that you may lose control, trembling, weakness, and so many other physiological reactions. I try hard every day to keep it under wraps. Every night, the clock resets and it's time to get ready for battle again. I discovered God in a different way this time. She spoke to me on a personal level. Morgan Freeman said it best: the God in you is the best version of yourself. The God in me is who I aspire to be. If I would have changed anything, it would have changed everything. It's not your fault that they didn't see the God in you. You must still love your broken pieces. I have went through the fire and now I was immersed in the water. Baptized, I came out a beautiful roaring phoenix. My rebirth has been very therapeutic for me. Like a phoenix, rising from the ashes and dusting my feathers off, and allowing all of my beautiful, majestic feathers to show. I've had so many new beginnings since then. I've tried so many new things since then. I'm challenging myself to the fullest now because I know that I can do all things. I can't get lower than the point that I was at because once you hit rock bottom, you can only go up. My physical scars are one thing, but dealing with the psychological scars is so much harder. Domestic violence goes on to manifest mentally, physically, and spiritually. It doesn't just stop after they have served their time. For the victim or survivor, it lasts a lifetime. My perspectives, my attitudes, my new boundaries are all the result of. It is characteristic of me now. I conquer fear and I exercise faith every time that I open my eyes. Things don't get easier, you just get stronger. You always get stronger. You will always be the winner as long as you keep trying. I'm a beautiful insanity. Everything has changed, and yet I'm more me than I've ever been. Resilience is waking up every day to fight the same demons that left me so tired before. Thank you.